Some interesting and possibly good news, let's go ahead and put this up there on the screen. The share of U.S. adults who are identifying with select political affiliations has gone to an all-time low for Democrats and Republicans at the very same time that independence has actually increased. So in 2004, 35% of the American people identified as Democrat, 33% as Republican, 31% as independent. Today, in 2023, 49% of Americans identify as independent, only 25% respectively identify as Democrat and Republican. So basically half of the entire country sees themselves as politically independent at the moment that approval for the two of the major parties is all the way at the bottom. And that actually raises a lot of questions around the way that we even run our political electoral system, because we elevate people through primaries and then throw them at independents. But if the vast majority of people don't believe in those parties themselves, then why are we allowing like hyperactivist bases of people who don't necessarily agree with us to surface people who are then thrown at us in terms of our two options? So I think it's really interesting. The more that these parties collapse. I mean, I know why the system is the way it is.
Yeah, I would love the sort of reforms that you're referring to open it up so there was a more, more of an opportunity for third-party candidates that more accurately reflect perhaps the views of this group of nearly a majority of Americans who view themselves as politically independent.
Right.
Underneath the data, what they say is driving this phenomenon is primarily young people. They quote a pollster who says it was never unusual for younger adults to have higher percentages of independence than older adults. What is unusual is that as Gen X and millennials get older, they are staying independent rather than picking a party as older generations tended to do. And I have no doubt that Gen Z also is disproportionately politically independent. Now that's different. See, like the corporatist, centrist types like the no labels of the world would look at this data and be like, see, they're crying out for moderation. They're crying out for what we have to offer. But don't misread the data in that way. Many of these people who are politically independent, they may be people who were affiliated with the Bernie movement and are actually more to the left of the party on a variety of issues and just see the Democratic Party as like, corporate shills, as, sort of like how I see them. Or they may be to the right of the Republican Party. So the fact that they identify as politically independent doesn't mean they're like wishy-washy centrists, doesn't mean they don't have really clear or hard ideological or, even relatively extreme views or what would be conceived or perceived of as extreme in mainstream American discourse. So it's different than saying like, oh, everybody's in the center. It's just they're disgusted with these two political parties and don't feel like they're actually effective in getting things done for American people.
That's an important point. It's not that people want like lower taxes on corporations. That's not.
They're not like Joe Manchin stands.
Yeah, they're like, I think the political system is broken. I think things that are all over the place, that are both simultaneously Republican and Democratic ideas, and I don't like the brand of the parties themselves. Now, look, how it manifests, at the end of the day, the vast majority of people still actually do kind of code right and left.
Yes.
That is actually pretty clear.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, most of that tacks onto then Republican and Democrat. The question is whether those two vessels are the ones that should be the ones that attract those types of votes and maybe not something else. So, look, I don't know how it works out.
Yeah.
The last time that we had a major political party, I have one behind me, the Bull Moose Project, or the Bull Moose Party was really the last time it was, I wouldn't even say electorally viable, but at least won a decent amount of votes, I guess, outside of Ross Perot. It takes a lot for parties to crumble and for things to change, but I mean, it can happen. It's happened twice in modern American history, since 1860. So I don't know. I haven't lost all hope just yet.
Yeah, well, the other thing that has happened in more recent history is basically like revolutions within the parties themselves. You can think of, in a very bad way, in my opinion, the way that Bill Clinton and the DLC took over the Democratic Party and really hijacked it and turned it into something different. You could think of the way the Tea Party changed the Republican Party and then Donald Trump changed the Republican Party again. You can think of the way that in certain states, like in Nevada, the Bernie Sanders wing of the party was able to basically take over the Democratic Party and make it into something different than what it was. So there's more precedent in recent history for something like that happening. But I just look at this data and I see it as basically like an opportunity that people's eyes are open. And it's also somewhat contradictory with the fact that, there are so many fewer swing voters. You know, even as people are saying they're independent, they're very consistently voting in a party line fashion. But I do think the fact that there is clearly this disenchantment with the two major parties creates an opening for positive change, and also, frankly, has created an opening for a different media ecosystem that's just not just like partisan cheerleading the way that the cable news networks are. So I see it as a good thing in general.
Absolutely. So, all right, we'll see how it works out.
Hey guys, ready or not, 2024 is fully upon us now, and Saagar and I have been brainstorming ways that we can really up our game for this critical election.
Yeah, we rely on our premium subs to expand our coverage, to add staff, to upgrade the studio. We just want to give you the best independent coverage of this election, which is possible. So if you can help us out, become a premium subscriber today, breakingpoints.com, or the link is down here in the description video. It really means the world to us, and if you like what we're all about, this is the best possible way to keep us 100% independent, working only for you.